Now, he could be forgiven for mistaking Professor Steve Cornelius's resignation from the IAAF's disciplinary committee as a patriotic move. But the professor of law maintains his decision is based on a fundamental human rights issue that happens to affect South Africa's golden girl, Semenya. CGTN Sias Plessis sat down with the man who believes the IAAF have crossed the line.
Joining me today is Professor Steve Cornelius, former IAAF disciplinary tribunal member and currently part of the Faculty of Law here at the University of Pretoria. Thanks very much for your time, Prof. Why, in your opinion, are the new IAAF regulations unlawful?
These regulations apply only to certain women, not to men as well. So that's already a question of gender discrimination, which, at least in terms of South African law, in terms of European law, Canadian law, that would be unlawful. And from that point of view, I have a concern. There's also issues about integrity of the human body, human dignity that come up. So it is a fundamental rights issue.
Have you heard back from Sebastian Coe or the IAAF?
Well, I've had a reply from the chair of the disciplinary committee, Michael Beloff, and he sent me a wonderful letter. I'm really flattered, acknowledging receipt and just expressing regret that I won't be part of it, but he understands my position.
What options do female athletes affected by the new regulations have going forward?
If they feel that they do not want to abide by these regulations, the one option available would be to take the matter to the Court of Arbitration for Sport in Switzerland. Now, I get the impression that there are already athletes, I'm not sure who they are, but speaking to lawyers internationally that there are cases pending, and I'm sure we are going to see this in the Court of Arbitration for Sport.
Other countries' athletics federations have expressed concerns over these new regulations. Do you think the rules will hold?
Well, for me, the first prize would be if the reform takes place from within the IAAF, if national federations speak out and perhaps this could be reviewed. I'll be surprised if the IAAF backtracks and if this does not require some legal process to overturn it, either in the Court of Arbitration for Sport or in a national court or perhaps something like the European Court of Justice.
Prof, why do you think that the IAAF is targeting Semenya specifically, even though they haven't admitted that it's all about her?
Well, it's difficult to avoid that conclusion. I try to not go that route. For me, the more fundamental issue is this affects all female athletes participating in these events. And hyperandrogenism is not just a congenital condition that you are born with. It can also arise later through stresses to the body. And there's some studies to suggest that the rigorous exercise of elite athletes can cause that. So I think some of the top athletes who might think they are safe from these regulations might actually find themselves falling foul of it. And that for me was the biggest motivation. Of course, I think Semenya was in the back of my mind, but the big thing is there are more female athletes that are involved than just Semenya, and it's to make a statement in favor of those athletes who will now have to expose themselves to this kind of scrutiny that I decided to step back.